Good morning, students. To start with your last topic of your unit 2, that is bit field and pointers. Firstly, coming to the bit level field conditions. That is, what is bit level field? How can we set it? The first condition to use your bit level field is you can create bit level field either in the structure or union member. That means you have to create one structure or a union to clear the concept of bit level field. Syntax is struct name int variable one. That means any type of variable could be there. Any type of the variable could be there. Then the colon sign and you set the width in the form of bits. By going with an example in the implementation, firstly you have to write down the simple header files. Then your structure. Here I will take one structure with the name of date. Okay. As you know, in the date, it consists of three variables. One is day. I will consider the variables as an integer type and take the name of the variable as dd. Then month, then year. With this way, I will create one structure. Then the void main section. In the void main section, I will declare the structure variable. As the name of the structure is date, let's take the variable as d1. Okay. Here I am not concerned with what is the value of date, what is the value of month, what will be the value of year. I'm not going to give it. I'm just concerned with the concept of what is bit level field. Firstly, if I go with the cout, there is one operator that is called size of. With the size of operator, I can find out the size of any variable or any structure here. Okay. Here I will find out the size of the structure. The name of the structure variable is d1. I will write here size of d1. Okay. Let's see it. What will be the result? I will compile it first. Okay, right. Let me write down get ch. I will compile it first. There is no any error. Then I will run this program. The answer is 6. How I'm going to get the answer 6? Firstly, here I will write size of structure. The answer is size of structure is 6. How the size of the structure is 6? Here I am taking 3 integer type variables in my structure. In Turbo C++, the size of the integer data type is 2 bytes. Here again it is 2 bytes. Here it is again that is 2 bytes. And if I'm going to find out what will be the size of my structure, it will be 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. Then 6 will be my answer. This is the concept that is without any bit level field. Now coming to the concept of bit level field. What is bit level field and how we will define it? I said in the syntax, in the bit level field, firstly, you will define the data type, then the name of the variable, then there will be a one colon sign, then the width. Here I will define the width as 5. Because as you know, if we consider date, then maximum date will be of 31. Then if we consider 31, the maximum bits that will be covered by 31 is 5 bits. So I am taking here width is 5. The maximum value for the month is 12, and the value, the bits that will be covered here is 4. I will write here 4. Now if I will run this, and as the year is there, the value of year could be 2020 and any could be there. So I will take it maximum. It may take 16 bits. So I'm not going to define the bit here. Now I will compile my program here. There is no any error. Then I will run this. Now the size of the structure is 4. How the size of the structure is 4 here? I will go over one. Here I'm defining structure as date and int as day, month and year. If I'm defining it as a bit level field as 5, and in the month I'm defining it as a 4 bit, and I'm not going to define the size of year, then it means 2 bytes are reserved for it. Then what does it mean? How we will define the bit field concept here? As you know, the integer is of 16 bits. If I'm saying it is of 2 bytes, then integer is of 16 bits. If I define here 16 bits, these are all 16 bits. I said the maximum width of date will be 5. That means the bits that will be reserved for date will be 5. Okay. Then I am saying the maximum width for the month is 4. Then I will reserve the 4 bits for the month also. Still I am having 7 bits remaining with me. Okay. That means I am covering this 9 bits in just in 2 bytes. There is no need to initialize or initiate this integer data type. That means these 2 bytes are not used. I am defining the width here, and this width will be used by this 5 bits will be used by this integer type which has been defined previously. I'm not going to define it in the next one. Here I will modify the example to clarify you more. Here, if I define here 4. Now let's find out the size of the structure. Now the size of the structure is 2. Then how it is 2? If I consider 5 plus 4 plus 4, the answer is 13. That means the size of the integer is 2 bytes. That is, here I will write here. Your answer is 13. That is width. The size of integer is 16 bits or 2 bytes. 2 bytes equal to 16 bits. And if I consider only 13 bits have been used by your variable, there is no need to use the size of this integer type that is in the month of this integer type that is included with the year. I'm just including the integer size which is with the day, that is of 16 bits. That's why my answer is 2 here. This is the concept of your bit level field. That means if you define the width, you may use the space of the previous defined data type. Now coming to your next topic, that is the pointers. A pointer is a variable whose value is the address of the another variable, that is direct address of the memory location. That is, a pointer will point to the address of the another variable. Like any variable or constant, you must declare a pointer before using it to store any variable address. Syntax to define a pointer is, you must define first data type, then the asterisk sign, then the variable name, that is the name of your pointer will be there. The reference and dereference operator. Here we will use two operators to assess the pointers. Firstly, if we are concerned with the address of the variable, then we will use the reference operator, which is denoted by ampersand sign. When we are going to dereference operator, there is another operator that gets the value from the address. It is called dereference operator. When we are concerned with the address value, then we will use the reference operator with the sign of ampersand. When we are concerned with the value of the variable whose address has been stored in the pointer variable, then we will use the dereference operator, that is with the asterisk sign. Let's go with one example here to clarify the concept of pointers. Here we will use simple header files, IOStream and Conio. Your general header files. Then in the void main section, firstly, how you will define one pointer variable. Okay, let's take one simple variable as a equal to 20. That is with the name of a variable with the value 20. Here I am defining one pointer variable int star IP. That is name of the variable here I'm using. Now let's find out the value. Firstly, if I'm going to find the ampersand of a, here I will use enter. Here I am concerned with the address of a. Address of a, here it is address of a. Okay, I will get some hexadecimal value. Whatsoever the memory location that has been assigned to a will be get displayed here. Now I will write cout a, that is without any ampersand sign. Here I will get the value of a, whatsoever the value of a here. Here the value of a. The value of a is 20 here. In the output, my result will be 20. Then if I write cout pointer asterisk IP ender, when I'm using dereference operator along with the pointer variable, I will get the value. Value of which variable? Where my IP will point out. IP will store the address of the A variable. If it is pointing to the address of the A variable, then with the dereference operator, I can access the value of that location where the pointer is pointing. That means I can access the value of A here then the value of star IP will be 20 also. Then cout IP here. Let's run our program till here. Here I will get the value of the memory location again. I will write the address here. Okay. Let's find out what will be the result here. If I run this, firstly, I'm getting one hexadecimal value. Hexadecimal value, that means some address value. That address value is related to your A variable, the value of the A variable, address value of the A variable. Then the value of the A, then I use asterisk IP, that is value of that variable where the pointer is pointing, and the value is 20 here. Then you will find out I am getting the same memory location. Here I am saying IP. IP will hold the address of that memory location whose address has been stored here. That means address of IP will be same as A variable. But if I write here cout %IP, okay, then let's find out what will be the result. Now you can find out the address of IP is different and address of %IP is different, because here the address, exact address of IP variable, that means what is the address of your pointer variable is shown here. Okay, if we write the IP, that is name of the pointer variable, without the reference operator and it has been already pointing to some variable, then it will hold the address of that variable also. But if I'm going to check of the value of the address value of that pointer variable, then I will use address operator here. Okay, or the dereference operator here. The output must be clear in your mind. All your next topics will be dependent upon this. Okay. Next is moving to the next topic, that is arithmetic pointer operators. There are 4 arithmetic operators that can be used with the pointers. That is increment, decrement, addition, and subtraction. Here we will go with an example here. Okay. Let's take the value of int A and B. As I'm going to add 2 numbers, as you know, when you are going to add 2 numbers, you require 3 variables. Let's take third variable as sum here. That is sum equal to A plus B. If I'm saying you are going to use the concept of pointers, you are going to add pointer variables here by assigning the address of simple variable to the pointer variables. Then how will you use it? Firstly, let's define here 2 pointer variables, P1, star P1 and star P2. These are 2 pointer variables. These are your ABC and AB, and some are your general variables, and P1 and P2 are your pointer variables. Let P1 will hold the address of your A variable and P2 will hold the address of your B variable. Then in the sum, let's give the value first. Enter the value of A and B. Then Cin A, B. With this, you will get the value. Now, one is if you will use sum equal to a plus b, then your value will be get sum. If I'm saying I'm going to add two pointer variables, then star p will hold the value that will be in the variable a plus star p2 that will hold the value of the variable b. Then see out sum is. I'm going to display the sum variable here. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Let's run it. It is saying enter the value of a and b. I will use here enter the value as 3 and 4. The sum is 7. This is the concept how you can add two pointer variables. If I'm saying you can subtract it by the same way, instead of addition sign, you will use the subtraction here. Okay. Now you will run this. Enter the value of a and b. I will enter here 5 and 2. Answer will be 3 here. With this, you can use your subtraction here. Now the concept of your increment pointers. Here, what will be get incremented? Firstly, we will consider it. Okay. Let's make it easy one. In the same program, I will use int a equal to 20 and will take one pointer variable as star p. P will hold the address of variable a. Till that we are clear that this is general program that a is a variable, p is pointer variable, and p is holding the address of the a variable. Let's see out the value of p, that is the address, because we are concerned with the increment, pre-increment or post-increment here. So I will increment the point address value here. I will firstly show the address of a also. Now I will increment the star p value here. Okay. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Now the answer is 4 and 4 here. Okay. Here I'm just displaying the value of addresses of a and p, that is pointer variable and of the a variable. If I will see out the value of the pointer variable, now the value will be now you can find out the address of p pointer variable and a variable is same, but when I incremented the pointer variable, its address value is shifted by 2. Why it is shifted by 2? Because it is of integer type and there is increment by 1, but as integer will take 2 bytes, so there will be an increment of 2 bytes here. So the value will be get, if I skip this is just for your reference. The value of pointer variable is 4, but when I increment the value, it will be incremented by 2 bytes. Now in the same program, if I decrement the value of address, it will be now run our program. Now firstly it was 4, then it was incremented, that is increased by 2 bytes. The answer will be 6. You have to find out the last value here. Okay, and after that decrement, it is again reduced by 2 bytes. The answer is 4. This is the concept of arithmetic pointer operators. Now moving to the next concept of your allocating memory. Here we are having two type of memory allocation. One is called the SMA, other is called the DMA. SMA stands for static memory allocation, DMA stands for dynamic memory allocation. Difference between static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation is static allocation is performed at static or compile time. In the dynamic allocation, it is performed at dynamic or at runtime. Static allocation is assigned to stack. Dynamic allocation is assigned to heap. Static allocation size must be known at compile time. In the dynamic allocation, size may be unknown at compile time. It must be known only at the runtime. Static allocation follow the rule of first in, last out. In the dynamic allocation, there is no particular order of assignment. It is in the static allocation, it is best if required size of memory is known in advance. In the dynamic allocation, it is best if we don't have any idea about how much memory is required. Now moving to the allocation of memory, that how you can dynamically allocate the memory. This is your dynamic memory allocation program that we are going to implement. Here I will write I will take one variable as a pointer variable here. Let's take star p. This is of integer type. If I will write here cout, enter value, and I will enter the value of cin pointer variable, then cout star p. This is the simple one. There is no any dynamic memory allocation. This is just static memory allocation. If I'm saying this is dynamic memory allocation concept that I'm going to use it here, then I have to use here one keyword that is called new. That is a operator, new operator. Then which type of memory you are going to allocate at the runtime? The same name that you have used here, I'm going to use here integer type. This is the syntax. Firstly, you will write the pointer variable, then new and int, or you may write it by like this. This is one way. I will make it in a comment. You may also write it like int star p equal to new int. Okay, this is the another way you may write, but in single line you may cover it by the above way. Okay, this is also a correct format. Here I am going to enter the value of p and display the value of p. When I have dynamically allocate the memory, it's my responsibility to deallocate it. Otherwise, the variable will hold the memory address. It will not release the memory. Then what is the way by which you will deallocate the memory or release the memory? As in C, you must have heard about free. But in C++, where you going to use delete. The pointer where I'm going to dynamically allocate the memory, I will delete that memory and deallocate it or release it. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Then run our program, enter the value. I will say 20. 20 will be get displayed, and 20 will be get displayed at the memory which has been allocated at the runtime. That is, memory has been taken from the heap area. Next is array DMA memory location. With the array, you may also allocate the memory at the runtime. How you will allocate it? Let's share it by example also. In the same program, I will make some changes. Firstly, this is for the simple variable when you are going to allocate the memory dynamically. But when you are having array type, then you will allocate the memory by this way. This is your memory allocation as the array is concerned. Enter the value here. I will take one variable as int p to enter the number of elements. So I will use enter value and see the value of n, that is the number of elements by which your loop will traverse. Then I will use for loop for the traversing of array I equal to 0, I less than n, and I plus plus will be here. Then scene pi, that is your pointer variable with the I iterations. Then I will display the array by the same way. We'll use the same loop and see out your array here. Okay. As in the case you have allocated the memory, you have to deallocate it. As the array is concerned, you have to deallocate by using the square brackets before your pointer variables. Okay, and you are using simple variable, then delete and your pointer variable when you are going to release the memory in your simple variable case. But as the array is concerned, then you have to use your square brackets. Then I will compile it. There is no any error. Then I will run this program as enter the value, that is maximum value. I said 3. The value is 1, 2, 3. These are the values of my variables. Okay. This is the value of my array. What is 1, 2, 3? This is the way by which you can dynamically allocate memories to an array. Now, to extend this program, I will make some changes here, that how you can find the sum in an array. Okay. Here I will use as variable. The remaining program will be same. I will use one variable as sum equal to 0. As I'm going to take the sum of the array variables, I will take sum equal to 0. That will be a variable which is initialized by 0. Here I will enter the values and will perform this sum here. Firstly, I will just display the number of elements that I have taken, and I will use a sum equal to sum plus pi. That is same as the concept of your simple array programs. Okay. And we'll display the result. Here I have taken one variable as sum equal to 0. Then in the for loop, I will use sum equal to sum plus the elements of an array and display that sum. Okay. The remaining program will be same. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Let's run our program. Enter the value, that is 3. I will enter here 3 values, 1, 2, 3. The result is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. Because I'm using here in between. Let's find out the reason. Here I'm using sum here. As you are going to use your sum inside, so you are getting step-by-step value. I will use the sum outside the loop. I will use here handle, so the output will be clear to you. Enter the value. I said 3, 1, 2, 3 is the values. 1, 2, 3 and the sum is 6. This is the way by which you can calculate the sum of an elements when you are going to dynamically allocate the memory. Okay. Your next topic is void pointers. And you have studied that address assigned to a pointer should be the same type as specified in the pointer declaration. Okay. For example, if we declare the integer pointer, then its integer pointer cannot be point to a float variable. That means integer pointer will point to a integer variable also. If you are going to define any float pointer, then it will point to a float variable. Okay. It cannot change the type of the variable. Then what is the purpose of your void pointer? Void means nothing, empty. To overcome this problem, that we have to define the pointer which is having the same type of variable. To overcome this problem, we are going to use the void pointer. The pointer to void means a generic pointer. A void pointer is also called a generic pointer. This is the another name of your void pointer. A pointer, we can assign the address of any data type to the void pointer. That means a void pointer can be assigned to any type of the pointer without performing any explicit typecasting. That means we don't need to convert it. We will simply change the type of the pointer by declaring the pointer as a void pointer. Let's discuss it by example. I will take one example to define the void pointer concept. Here I am defining a void pointer. P is a pointer which is not of integer type, which is not of int type. It is a void pointer. Okay. Let's take one variable here as x here. P will contain the address of the x variable. Let's enter the value of x, enter the value of x here, then cin x. Okay. As we know, if we are saying with star p, I can assess the value of the x. Okay. Let's find out first by this way. There is an error. This is not an allowed type. P is assigned a value that is never used, but P has been assigned a value which has been allocated as an address. Then how you will display it? Let's find out the value of x first. This is the value of x. Okay. Let's run it. The value of x is 3. Answer is 3. As you know, with the star p, we can assess the value. If I write here cout star p, that is pointer variable. But here I am getting an error that p is assigned a value that is never used because the type of the p pointer is void. That is nothing in the p pointer. Then how will you use it? You will perform here typecasting. Then how will you perform here typecasting? The syntax is you will write your asterisk sign, then the type of the variable where you are going to typecast it, then you will enclose it with the asterisk sign in the round braces and put your pointer variable name after it. Now let's run our program. There is no any error now. This is called typecasting basically. That is implicit typecasting. That is not implicit typecasting. That is conversion of one type into another. You are going to define no type of your pointer, but you are going to define here the pointer void pointer will be get converted into integer type. Now let's find out the value of x is 3. The value of x is 3 and value of p is 3 also. This is the concept of your void pointer. That means if you will define here your float pointer, you can also, there is no need to change the type of your pointer. You will simply change the typecasting variable. Okay, this is called your pointer, word pointer. I will come to the definition again so you will get more clarification. It said the address assigned to pointer should be the same type. This was our previous concept when we started our pointer. Now coming to overcome this problem, we are used to going to use the void pointer. A pointer to void means generic pointer that can point to any data type. Similarly, as we have defined integer pointer, but our pointer name was as we defined our variables as integer and we want our value as integer, then we have changed it accordingly. As we want to show our float value, then we can change our pointer accordingly. It said we can assign the address of any data type to the void pointer, and void pointer can be assigned to any type of the pointer without performing any explicit typecasting. There is no any explicit typecasting is there. There is implicit typecasting. This concept is called implicit typecasting. Okay. As I have shown you, I have changed the type of my void pointer as the floating pointer. Let's run it. I set value of x is 3.4. The answer is 3.4 and 3.4. That means the void pointer is nothing like fixed data type. It can be changed according to your usage. You can implicitly call it. Now moving to your next topic, pointer related problems. This is very important topic. We are having four type of problems that will be related to your pointers. When you are going to use your pointer, you will get these type of problem. First is called the dangling pointers. Okay, let's go with the definition. Then I will go with the implementation. What is the dangling pointer? It says a dangling pointer is a pointer that holds the address of the inactive area location. That means the scope of the variable has been closed and the pointer is still pointing to that variable. How it is performed? Let's find out. Let's take some simple header files here. I will use one concept of functions here to clarify you more. Okay, I will make the name of the function as fun. Here in the function, I will define one pointer variable. Okay. Inside the function, I will start one parenthesis and write one variables as int x equal to 20. And pointer variable will hold the address of that x variable. Let's see out the value of x here and see out the value of star p. Okay. This is important concept. Now let's close the parenthesis. This is a function, so I'm going to define its prototype. Then your void main section where you are going to call that function. Then clear screen. Let's call that function. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Let's run it. You can find out you are getting the value 20 and 20. Let's saying this is no any error in the program and it will be easily understandable to you. As in a function, I am defining one pointer variable. I am taking one variable as x equal to 20 and I am giving the address of that x variable to the pointer variable p and displaying the value of x as well as your pointer variable. Okay. Let's write here x and x1. That means at the first time when you are getting the value, and star p1 when you are getting the value of p the first time. I will write here cout star p2. That means I'm going to get the value second time. Okay. Now let's run it. There is an error. Undefined symbol. Okay, simple p should be there. Okay. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Let's run it. You are getting the value as x120 star p120 star p12. Sorry, star p20. Let me use handle here to clarify you. Okay. It says x1, that means first time when you are going to execute your x, that is value is 20. When first time you are going to execute your p, your value is 20. Next time you are going to execute your p, the value is 20. Okay. Now let's execute the value of x here. This is the first time your x and p has been executed, and this is your second time when your x is executing. Okay. Now let's find out what will be the result. Here you will get an error. Okay, let's find out the error. It says, let's find out statement missing error. There will be a simple error here. Now read out the error. It says undefined symbol x. This is your dangling pointer concept here. You will get an error here. Okay. What is the concept of dangling pointer here? You have defined one pointer variable. That's fine. Here you are defining one variable that is x with the value of 20. Here you have given the value of x to the pointer variable. That's fine. Here you have displayed the value of x and you have displayed the value of star p. Till here your program is fine. Okay. There is no any error. As the definition of dangling pointer says, it holds the value of inactive area. Inactive area means the scope of your x variable is starting from here to here. After the closing of this curly parenthesis, the scope of your x variable has been closed. You cannot assess that x variable. But when you are going to assess the value of x, you are getting an error. But when you will deactivate it, you will get your value. You are not getting any error. That means your p is holding a value. This is your dangling pointer. Your p is holding a value of that variable whose scope has been finished here. There is no scope of x here. Okay, but p is still holding a value, and that p is called your dangling pointer. This is the concept of your dangling pointer. Then comes the wild pointer. Okay, coming with the implementation of your wild pointer. Your simple header files are required here. This is the concept of your wild pointer. Firstly, I will go with the concept, then I will come to the definition. Here I am defining int star p star q star r. Okay, then int a, b, and c. Three variables and three pointer variables. And p will hold the address of a, q will hold the address of b, and r will hold the address of c. Now see out the value of p here. I'm going to use its address value. See out the value of q here and see out the value of your r here. Let's compile it. There is no any error. Let's compile it. Here you are concerned with the output. Now note the output in the first, you have just note the last character. The last letter is in the first case, that is E, C, and then A is there. Okay. That means there is a difference of 2 bytes and 2 bytes. Okay. This is the solution of your wild pointer. But if I'm not going to assign the address variable to your pointers, then find out the address value, it is pointing somewhere at 8, at 0, then A. That is not in a sequence. Okay. Then purpose of your wild pointer is to give some address variable, the value of the pointer will hold the address of some variable, and it will point to the exact memory location one after the another. Otherwise it will be get distracted. Okay, let's go with the definition. It will be more clear to you. A pointer which has not been initialized to anything. That means a pointer variable which has not been initialized to anything, not even null, is called a wild pointer. Okay, that means if you simply write int star p and you are not going to assign any value to the p, that will be your wild pointer. A wild pointer, also called bad pointer, because it holds the address of the random memory location, that is garbage value. The second time that you were getting was the garbage value, that was the random memory location, not in a particular sequence, not in a difference of 2 or 4 that as the memory location will get. Okay, that is your wild pointer. I will come back here. If you are not defining this section here, then your address will be randomly, somewhat 0, somewhere A, somewhere 8. Okay, but as you are going to solve it, you will assign some value, that means address value, to the pointer variable. Now it will hold the values that is in a sequence. That is your solution of your wild pointers. Now coming to your null pointer. Null pointer is a pointer which is pointing to nothing. In case if you don't have any address to be assigned to a pointer, then we simply say we can use it as a null. Null pointer is a pointer which is pointing to nothing. In case if we don't have address to be assigned to a pointer, then we can simply say use null. Okay. How will you implement it? Here I will take one example in this program. I will take one pointer variable and assign the value null to the pointer. Then see out the value of your pointer variable p. Let's compile it. There is no any error and your answer is 0. This is your null pointer where it is pointing to null value. Then coming to your memory leak concept. The memory leak occurs when a piece of memory which was previously allocated by the programmer, then it is not deallocated properly by the programmer. As I have told you, when you will allocate the memory, you have to release the memory. If you will not release it, then there is memory leak. That memory is no longer in use by the program, so that place is reserved for no reason. That's why it is called memory leak. This memory is allocated by the new point operator, but it is not deleted one. So the memory has been reserved, and this concept is called memory leak. Allocation failure. When we allocate memory from heap dynamically in C++ program using new operator, the program crashes when memory is not available or the system is not able to allocate memory to a program as it throws an exception. So you are going to allocate the memory by using the new operator, but there is no any memory with the computer system, so it will throw an error to you that there is no any memory space is there. So to prevent that memory program crash, we will handle exception. That means exception handling concept is there the when memory allocation fails.